For my 6th birthday in 1984, I received the Kenner Star Wars laser pistol, specifically the Return of the Jedi version. And I had a lot of fun with it, had it for a short while, and then it mysteriously disappeared. And I think it's because the kid that lived next door actually stole it from me, now that I think about it. And then several years later, 1994, I was at a fundraising garage sale for my high school. And everybody had tables set up to raise money for the school. And at one of the tables, there was a pile of junk toys, and in there was the Star Wars version, the original version of the Kenner laser pistol. Didn't have a battery cover or the locking knobs, but I had a Star Wars blaster again, and I took it home. But after that, I never really dealt with it. I never went to find battery covers, never went to find the locking knobs, and it sat in my collection. I was trying to get all the figures, the vehicles, the play sets. And now finally, I have found the knobs, I have found the battery cover, the knobs being the hardest part to find. And so I am going to resurrect this Star Wars laser pistol to working condition. So let's get started.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
So this is the Kenner Star Wars laser pistol that I found at the fundraising garage sale at my high school in 1994. It is the original Star Wars variation. You can tell by the original sticker with that double racetrack. And then, as so many have or don't have, it does not have the battery cover or the locking knobs for it. But these were played within the backyard, so that's very common to find them in this condition. I eventually purchased the Empire Strikes Back version, because Empire's my favorite movie, still in the box. And as you can see, the Empire version was changed from the Star Wars version. The Star Wars version is actually a light, well, not light, it's more like a dark gray, off black almost. And then for Empire, there was actually a transition period where the Empire version was the same color. This one's been sun discolored, but it had a black trigger, just like the Star Wars version, just had Empire Strikes Back stickers on it. But then they changed the mold color and the design to this, where it had gray locking knobs, black body, and it had orange trigger and grip button. But the Star Wars one is the original. It is the grandfather of all of these pistols. They've even re-released this pistol multiple times during the Power of the Force 2 run in garish colors like neon orange. But this is the original. So what we're going to do today is we're going to bring this one back to life. Now, the hardest thing to deal with these pistols is the constant loss of the battery cover and the knobs. The battery cover isn't terribly hard to find for any variation of this pistol as long as you're patient. What's hard to find are the knobs, and that's why I waited so long. I eventually found recently one of the battery covers for the original version with a very nice sticker, and one of the knobs was still in place, and that's all I needed to make my purchase. I'd passed up so many battery covers that didn't have the knobs because I knew that it was the knobs that were going to be the hard part. So I picked this up, and then I knew I had to go find another black knob. I found it in this very battered Empire Strikes Back transition version laser pistol. And that's another thing to point out. It's called the laser pistol. It's not called a blaster. It's not called a gun. It's actually the Kenner laser pistol. So keep that in mind when you're looking for these. This Empire Strikes Back pistol has seen better days. It has very rusty screws. It has huge chunks taken out of the plastic molding in various places. There's a chunk off the back of the scope here. And then if you actually open up the battery compartment, you'll see that there's all kinds of rust damage, and it's a rough piece. But it has that knob that I really needed. So that's what we're going to use, because this is still the 1979 laser pistol set of parts, right colors, everything, just with Empire stickers. So we're going to use this knob for our resto. So there are a number of screws, of course, that you need to know about when you're disassembling one of these blasters. They're all over it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if I counted that one yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have 8 screws to take off on the far side, the non-battery cover side of the laser pistol. And as with all things, you want to be careful. Don't force anything, because you've only got one shot at this. Now, fortunately, these screws are in very good shape compared to the other blaster. You know, I wonder often, every time I do a resto video, how many screws I've unscrewed on camera.
That sounded like breakage.
I'm trying to keep track of the screw lengths because the one right here was very short, and so I set it aside from the rest. And I have a feeling this one is probably pretty short also. Yeah, this one. So this one right here and this one are rather short. So you want to make sure that those are separated so when you put this back together. Now you might be asking yourself, why is Michael taking this thing apart when all he has to do is replace a battery cover and a knob? Well, the reason for that is quite simple. The sound mechanism isn't working. I've tested it with C batteries earlier. It's not functioning no matter what I do. And part of that is due to this button right here. I think this button has failed. It's very loose in the housing. So what I'm going to do is try and get into the toy gun and replace this button with the one on our Empire gun, which is still very solid. Despite this gun's horrible cosmetic condition, the mechanisms inside seem to be in better nick than this one. All right, so we're going to carefully separate the halves of this pistol. Oh, there's the button. It just fell right out. Huh. Trying to look inside here and see what the problem could be. You want to be real careful with these blasters because the end of the gun seems to be glued for the purposes of keeping everything nice and solid together on the end. And so I don't want to force this apart if I don't have to. If I can triage this gun without splitting that or breaking it, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so we have the button. Button goes in right here. But it's not allowing the copper to make contact sufficiently with the connector. The motor is right here. It's a typical Kenner motor. This one looks to be in good shape. So the internal mechanism of the laser pistol is focused on 2 contact points. One is the trigger and one is the button. Now I'm going to show you a graphic of this because it's too difficult to get into the pistol physically to show you this on camera. The way this works, and the problem that I was having with the Star Wars laser pistol, was that the button had gotten misaligned from its connector plate that was supposed to then make contact with one of the battery terminals. The connector plate itself had slipped, and I had to lock it back into place because it has some some sort of like connecting talons on it that hold it to plastic pegs inside the toy. So I had to make sure that those pins were aligned, those talons, so that it was gripping in the right places to create tension. Once I did that, I then had to hand spin the motor with the batteries in, with both trigger and button pressed. And then I spun and spun and spun and spun, trying to get that battery to come back to life. And here it is. It's complete for the first time in at least 30 years, because I've had it for 24. It looks great, and I think it sounds great too. And it's really thrilling to finally have this again. I haven't had a working laser pistol from Kenner since my 6th birthday, or for a few months thereafter. So this is a real thrill. And it's the original version without the orange trigger, without the silver. It's the off gray, like the dark charcoal gray with the black knobs. It's great. So thanks for watching this, and we will see you on the next video.